Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So today we are talking about the kickoff to the MCU's Phase 5 with Antman and the Wasp Quantumania. So in the Antman and the Wasp Quantumania, the Ant-Man crew gets sucked back into the quantum realm where they encounter Kang the Conqueror, who will do everything and anything to escape it. So Quantumania kicks off Marvel's Phase 5, and when the movie opens up, things are going pretty well for Scott. He's an Avenger now, he helped save the world, so he's really kind of enjoying his celebrity status that he has, and he's actually even wrote his own book. You also got Hope, who she's in charge of her dad's company now, so things are pretty good for the most part. However, Cassie is getting in trouble with the law, and Scott feels responsible for that, where he was missing from his daughter's life for a period of time, and so there's a little bit of a tension between the two characters when we start off the movie. Fast forward a little bit, and Cassie has created a device that's helping to communicate with the quantum realm, helping to explore it. However, it accidentally ends up getting the whole gang sucked into the quantum realm, and that's where things kind of kick off for the film. So at that point, we start to get into the quantum realm aspect of this movie, where we get down there, we find out that there are multiple civilizations down here, which we didn't really know before. We also start to learn a little bit more about Janet's past of her experience being down in the quantum realm. She's been really cagey about it, definitely a little leery about some things, and doesn't want to talk about, what her experience was. We start to learn a little bit more about that, and we also get introduced to Kang the Conqueror. And personally for me, I feel like, especially when it comes to the critics, because looking at the Rotten Tomato scores after I got back and seeing this film, for me, I couldn't disagree more with some of these critics on this film. I'm definitely more on the audience side of things here. I think this is my favorite of the Ant-Man movies so far up to this point, but I can tell you guys this is a much different Ant-Man film than what we have gotten with the other two previous movies. So if you guys were big fans of those films and you were expecting more of the same with that kind of stuff, you might be a little bit disappointed, because this is a lot different. For such a small character as Ant-Man, this definitely has a much larger scope this time around. So just a heads up kind of going into this, just knowing that you're going to get something a lot different than what you're used to with this character. I like that we definitely get to learn and explore more of the quantum realm with this film, which I was expecting that with a title like Quantumania, but yeah, we definitely get to see that there's actually, civilizations down there. There's a lot of different, citizens that reside in the quantum realm. It does give me a strong Star Wars vibe, especially when we're seeing some of these different creatures, different citizens that are living in this world. But that's totally okay, because, I do like Star Wars as well, so I didn't mind that at all. I'm sure some people might say it's a Star Wars ripoff, but there's been a bunch of different films that are similar to Star Wars, so that really wasn't something that really bothered me. I actually liked a lot of the different creature designs. I thought they did a really cool job with that. One of my new favorite characters that we meet in this movie, her name is Jentora, and she's played by Katie O'Brien, and it's really cool because this isn't the first time that I've seen her. I'm sure a lot of you guys, you might not realize it either, but she's been in a bunch of other projects. She's been in Star Wars, things like that, so she's really starting to make a name for herself with a lot of these roles in some of these bigger projects, so I was really excited to see her. I thought her character was a nice addition, such a badass character, so definitely one of the standouts for me in this movie. I also really enjoyed Cassie here, played by Kathryn Newton in the film. Sometimes it can be an iffy thing when franchises will recast a character. In this case, where the character was growing up, it does make sense that they ended up recasting the character, although I don't think the previous version that we saw in Endgame, I feel like she was like around like the same age. But regardless, I thought that Kathryn Newton did a really good job. I thought she was an excellent addition to the cast here. And, she was just a really likable character, especially by the end of the film. And her chemistry with Paul Rudd, I thought they worked really well together. Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror, he was excellent, but honestly, I wasn't expecting anything less from him, especially after seeing some of his other roles, but then appearing as He Who Remains in the Loki series. And he just has such a commanding presence about him, and you just feel the threat that his character poses, not only in this film, but what he poses as a threat to the rest of the MCU going forward as well. So Everything that you're hearing about Jonathan Majors, I think it's well-deserved. He's a phenomenal actor, and I can't wait to see more from him in the MCU going forward. And I thought the rest of the main cast was really good too. Obviously, you have Paul Rudd playing Scott Lang, and at this point, he really just owns that character. He's such a likable guy. You're always rooting for him, so I thought he was fantastic once again. A lot of his jokes really landed for me in this movie. You had Michelle Pfeiffer, who has a little bit more of an expanded role in this film, and then Michael Douglas as well. I thought all of them were good in the movie too. And overall, I think the comedy here in this movie worked a lot better than it does compared to a film like Thor: Love and Thunder, where I felt like that movie was just a little too goofy at some points, especially where it needed to be a little bit more serious. I think Quantumania does a good job. Don't get me wrong, there is quite a few laughs in this film in my audience that I saw it with, my group of friends too. We were all laughing throughout the movie, but they were laughing at the right parts, but when it needed to be serious, it was able to kind of to pull back, and you were actually able to say, okay, we need things to be a little bit more serious. They're going to be serious now for the most part. So I thought they did a good job with that with this movie. And finally, I think Quantumania does a really good job of kicking off Phase 5 and setting up things for the rest of this phase as well as future phases like Phase 6, especially when it comes to the end credit scenes. There are two. There's a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene, so make sure you stay to the very end because I thought both of those post-credit scenes were awesome, and I'm really excited to see what's coming down the pipeline. Now, don't get me wrong. This movie isn't perfect, far from it. There's definitely a couple things in here that I wasn't so much of a fan of. The first thing that I'm going to mention is the character of MODOK. When you see him, when he first pops up and he's in his suit, his armor, I didn't mind it quite as much. But when you see the face of a character that is on him, that was just like nightmare fuel. And I don't know, it was just a little goofy, and some of the things that the character did, I just wasn't really a huge fan of that character overall. So that was one thing that was like, yeah, I could have done without him. But then the other thing is that at some points, the visuals were definitely a little iffy, for sure. It's disappointing because this world was so cool, the quantum realm, but at times you did get the feeling that these characters were just standing there and they weren't really in this environment. And granted, I know they can't go down and film the quantum realm, but it just felt like it was a green screen, or I forget the name of the thing that they use for visuals with like Disney and Star Wars at the moment. But it just didn't feel like they were actually at a real location. So at times that kind of took me out of the film a little bit. So those are probably my two biggest gripes that I have with the movie. But overall, I still really enjoyed it. Like I said, I think this is my favorite film out of the Ant-Man series. But I know a lot of people aren't really too happy with this movie. So, I mean, as far as like the critics go, I definitely feel like I'm the minority goes as far as when it comes to that. But I had a lot of fun with this. I think that just with with the characters, the introduction of Kang the Conqueror in this movie, Jonathan Majors, I think he was amazing. And just some of the stuff that they're setting up for the future, we're finally starting to get a little bit clearer of a picture of what they're going for. Where some people were complaining Phase 4, they didn't really, it was just kind of like all over the place. I think that's kind of starting to come more in focus with this movie, so I was really happy about that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give this thing an 8.3 out of 10. It's definitely something that I will watch again for sure. And but I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are, because I know there's probably going to be a lot of I can already see it. I'm sure there's going to be some people that are like, well, you just like anything that Marvel puts out. And like I said in my review right here, I wasn't a huge fan of Thor: Love and Thunder. That's a fairly recent movie. But I'm sure that's probably going to happen. But I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. So either way, if you loved the film, if you hated the film, let me know down below in the comments. And what's your favorite Ant-Man film? What's your favorite Ant-Man film out of the three that we have gotten so far? So because I'm curious on that too. So let me know down below in the comments. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell button next to it. That way you get notifications for all my new videos. Give this video a thumbs up. And as always, guys, please make sure to check back for more Pop Culture with Pat.